Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started while some more people kind of trickle in. I just want to welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us for our final Lunch with Lucy of 2021. For those of us who For those of you who have joined us for the first time, we're so happy you're here. I know we have a ton of people who are regulars, so welcome back, and we're so grateful you're here. My name is Kate Rummelard, and I'm on the marketing team at VHT Studios, and I'll be your MC today. We have an amazing guest, but before we get started, just need to mention that we have everybody muted except for our panelists. So if you have questions, please enter your questions into the Q&A box, and we will get to those as we go and at the end. We'll also save time at the end to announce the 5 winners of the free lunches provided by VHT Studios. So with that, I'm happy to introduce Lucy Edwards.
Hello, everybody, and thank you so much again for joining us. Today, I'm in Chicago and leading real estate companies of the world building right there on premises. So I am so excited. And Paul Boomsma, the president and CEO of Leading RE, is here with us today. So it's like triple exciting because I'm not at my desk. I am here and we're doing it all in person. So it's really great. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. So here is Paul.
Thank you, Lucy. It's a pleasure to have you with us, and it's so nice that we can be next to each other. I'm very excited. I'm a huge fan and supporter of VHT. I've known Brian, the founder, for so many years, and I'm thrilled that you're now affiliated with them, and I'm excited to have this opportunity.
Well, and today we have really great, interesting topics. We're going to peek into 2022. We will talk about the importance of marketing strategy, the importance of brand and reputation. And I think that will be a great way to start our conversation today. How do you vision brand and reputation in 2022, and how agents should leverage their company brand with their personal brand?
Well, I think that's a great conversation. I love brand. Marketing was my background and my history, so I love thinking about brand. And I think it's become so important for agents to embrace not only their personal brand, but also the brand that they represent. And I bring that up because not always, but many, many times, the brand that you represent is the sign that's in the lawn. And many consumers often see that as the label on their house. And I think that there are some brokerages that may have more of a discount reputation. And I think sometimes that's hurt them because this is my opinion, but I think sometimes putting a discount brokerage sign in the front lawn says something about the house. I think when you put another brand, which is either going to be a well-known national or local brand, I think that says something about the house. And I think consumers feel that way. So as much as your own personal brand is very important, and what you represent and your brand story, if I can say, how you present yourself and what you represent, that's very important. But also, don't undersell the fact that you're putting a label on their home with a sign in the yard. And as much as I do like agent representation, I think that consumers really want more than that. Just an agent photo or a team name, unless it's a team that's incredibly strong and has a lot of houses. I think that having a strong brokerage name on that house is something that actually says a very positive thing about that home being for sale. That's just my own opinion on branding. And I think that would be backed up, though, if we look at, there are some brands out there that I think we all anticipated might get more traction than they have. And sometimes that's because, wow, they're a discount broker and you think that people only care about the price. They don't. They care about the representation and they care about the quality that's being associated with the service that you're providing with them. So I think service and quality are really important because this is one of their biggest assets, probably their largest single asset. And I think that having the right brand that you represent, but also the label on their house, which is in the front yard, also says something about who they are. And if they're willing to sell their home with somebody who is promoting a discount mentality, what does that say about what they did to the rest of the home? when they had to get something repaired, when they had to have something remodeled, were they always going for the lowest price? It's just my opinion. But I think that your brand, I think you can really do yourself a service. And again, I say this about whether it's a national brand or a strong regional or local brand. It needs to be somebody who's a strong player, because I think that's what says something positive.
And I agree with you, because yes, the brand, and yes, maybe commission is slightly higher than discounted brand, but you are offering so much more. You are offering the experience, the strategy, the marketing package that actually involves everything from staging all the way to the photography. I would like to kind of flow from that question to when agent is choosing a brand. In the last few months, we noticed the traveling arrangement from one firm to the other. And some agents are confused which brand to join, or vice versa. Don't join, just stay where you are, stay put because you are happy and because that brand represents your interests.
I love that conversation, because I would guess that there are a number of folks that are listening to us today that have been actively recruited or are considering leaving their brokerage to go somewhere else, because at the end of the year, it's a popular time for people to make those choices. I actually love talking to agents about recruiting because I think it's such an important topic. And I think that, oftentimes we kind of look at it and say, oh, it's just about the dollars. And it is about the dollars, but it's not necessarily about a commission split. It's about how much money are you going to make? And I think what is most important is when you go out, and again, I'm going to pick on, again, I represent leading companies in the world, and we have very strong brands in our markets, but we also have some wonderful competitors out there that are national names that are also strong brands. I think when you're looking at going out the door, what is your story? And is it a brand that you have to explain? Are you saying, oh, well, I'm with this company, you may not have heard of it, or whatever it is? I think that's a little challenging. When you can walk out the door and say, well, I work with a team, and this is how much business we do together because we're a really good team. Consumers love the idea as much as they love you. They also want to know, what are your resources? And being able to represent that you have a team, whether it's a top producing office, a top producing group of agents that you work with in your office, but you want to be able to represent more than you. If you are justifying a full commission, whatever that may be, you need to be able to tell them all the service you provide, and it needs to be bigger than you are. And I think it is in most cases. I think most agents today rely on other services. They either through a team, or they're working with a broker that's a full service broker and able to offer a lot of different things. But I think being able to represent that, and then also talk about the strength of what your brand represents in the local community. If you're well connected to the community, what you're doing in the community, so they know if something is going wrong, where do I go? Is there a leader, a local leader that is engaged, that is going to be my next level up? They're not going to say that to you, but in the back of their mind, if things go south, they want to know, what's my next step?
What's plan B? Yeah.
What's plan B? If things aren't going well, if this isn't quite as great as I think, if they're working with you for the first time, again, it's no disrespect, it's just what people think. So being able to know, hey, there's a local company, they have their name on the door and I know who that is, or your manager or your broker, whatever it is. But I think that it's important for them to be able to know they can escalate issues, but also that you have a path to escalate issues, that you have redundancy, that if things get tough, you have somebody that's going to help back you up and make everything go well. So I think selling the whole concept of what the brand is, it's more than just a logo. It's really about a service offering. And I think that when you're considering where you're going to work, you need to say, where am I going to get the most support? Not just for the easy transaction, but when the transaction is more challenging. And what's the company that I'm going to feel the most comfortable walking out the door and representing, where it has instant recognition and an instant reputation that's going to help me win the business. And if I'm going somewhere that's brand new, if they're going to pay you a lot of money, they should, because they need you more than you need them, quite honestly. And it's the companies that already have a great reputation where you're really, using that, and it's a good partnership. And I think that's why, our firms, independent brokerages are still so strong and still do such a great job because they have strong leaders. They have great sales teams. They're very engaged in their communities. And, I think there's always a home for that, as well as some of our good franchise competitors who have great reputations as well.
Well, in your organization, for example, you have over 550 firms, real estate firms that arrange this absolutely fabulous networking system. And some companies that are not part of your organization, they also have great networking events, and I think that is important. So that is part of the brand, because when someone is selling the house, they want to buy somewhere else, and you have to have that support. And I think that whoever owns a certain firm, and some of your clients, as I understand, some of your partners are not huge firms. They have maybe 100 agents, right? But they have great reputation.
Oh, because of our coverage, we have some firms that are quite small. However, they're strong in the market, and they have a great reputation. And again, we're in 75 countries, and some of those countries have some very small enclaves. And whether they're a luxury community, typically a lot of the really small communities tend to be higher end because if you have a really small community and there's a significant amount of real estate, it's typically because the price point is high. Right. So there are parts of Europe, parts of Italy, where we have very small firms, but they're doing some real gangbuster business. But I mean, to your point on the referral side, I think that it's not just talking about your local team, but it's also what resources do you have globally. Today's consumer has become very savvy, and they all know the world is getting smaller, and everybody wants to know that you have access to promote their home. In many cases, depending on where you are, but in many cases, they want to know that potentially there could be a buyer from outside of their area who's interested in their home, and you need to be able to express how that'll work and how that happens. I know, and I saw a couple agents joining the call, and some of them have been to our global events. And, I think it's, if you can express, well, I'm part of an organization and I've been to one of their events, either in Europe or in Asia or wherever it is, and I have those relationships, that pretty much says you're global, that you have those relationships, and you can, you have basically on a first name basis, people in all parts of the world. That's one piece, but you also have to have the mechanics that your organization, and you should understand how, if I do have a customer who has a child looking to sell or purchase in another part, what about somebody who has parents who need to sell their home? How does that work? Because that's really about being full service, and having those resources can really be a great supplement to your business. We have a number of agents who do a tremendous amount of referral business, and some of it can be big business. It can be a lot of money in commissions just for making an introduction and providing that that relationship to say, hey, I'm going to introduce you to somebody. They're great, but you have to have the confidence to know that the rest of the network you're part of has great people, and you feel comfortable referring them to someone else in another part of the world.
I would like to mention, and that we were just talking about, first of all, one of the broker owners I interviewed just a few weeks ago mentioned that 75% of his business this year was through leading area referral system. So that was amazing, in my opinion. That is just through leading RE, and then he has other referral bases and just direct clients walking in. But I would like to also, I understand when you have brand, you have reputation, you can actually charge higher commission, but you have to deliver. And there is a new direction now with iBuyers. And can we touch base on that? What's your opinion, and will that grow and take over?
Well, there's two things. First of all, I'm thrilled to hear that one of our members is getting so much business from us. That is somewhat related to geography. It's not necessarily normal. All of our members don't get that much business, but I'm thrilled to hear that some of them are.
That was in Florida.
Yeah, and I think, depending on where you are, I just want to put a little footnote there. Everybody isn't getting 75% of their business from it. However, there are certainly some resort markets and things like that through COVID have been very, very, very active. In terms of the iBuyer, I think that something that I was pleased. I can't say it in any other way. I don't ever like to see bad things. That's not a good trait to relish in someone's demise. However, I can't say that I was disappointed when Zillow announced that they were going to step out of the iBuyer business. Zillow of anybody has the resources, has the technology, has a lot of things going for them to make an iBuyer work. And if they're not able to do it, I guess in my own mind, I wonder how many other people can make it happen. So with that, I have to say, I think the iBuyer has a place. I think that for someone who, and I'll use the example, I think that if you had a customer or client who is maybe getting ready, maybe they had a spouse that passed away and now they need to get into some sort of an independent or assisted living facility. For that person to go through the whole process of having to do a lot of showings to get the apartment cleaned up or the townhome or single family home cleaned up, that's a lot of work. And in some cases, they might prefer to just get the money and move on and have the rest of that process be somebody else's concern. So I do think that in some cases, it's not bad for any agent to be able to say, would it be easier? Because again, a lot of those, there are some iBuyers out there that will give you a great referral if you refer them the business. And if it's in the best interest of the customer and it makes their life the easiest, then I think it's something that could be out there. With that said, though, I think that's a very small percentage of the customers. And I don't know that the statistics would show that they're getting top dollar for that home. And Mike Del Prete, who many of you know, has done a lot of research and has a lot of data, which would be able to share more of that information with you. With that said, though, I must say, I think that the part that I appreciate is I think that the iBuyer concept, in some cases, kind of looked at our industry and said, you know, we can make this a lot easier. It doesn't need to be so difficult. Well, my own opinion would be that I don't know that we make it difficult. I think we have to respond to a lot of needs from a lot of different types of consumers who have a lot of concerns, and they also have attorneys that are going to tell them that they want to get as much certainty as possible, which we all know this is a market-driven decision to purchase a home. We can't guarantee certainty. What we can guarantee is that we're going to give them the very best representation. So I think that there's so much emotion that goes along with the sale or purchase of a home. And I think that all of the sales professionals that are successful clearly have cornered that. And they know how to do it, and they do it well. And the consumer at the end of the day benefits from that knowledge because we're helping them with, one of the biggest transactions of an asset in their life. And I think that to simplify it and say that an iBuyer situation is going to just completely make that go away, I think it was being oversimplified. And I think that being able to say that there's going to be some computer algorithms that can solve this problem. You know what? I don't know that there are algorithms that have been able to solve emotional distress or concerns. And I think that's where we really come in. So I think seeing Zillow disband that at a considerable loss, clearly they thought hard about doing that. But I think the iBuyer is that, to me, that proves the iBuyer. There may be a home for it somewhere, but it's not going to be taking over our industry.
It will not dominate. But what we noticed, what we were witnessing in the last 12 months or so, even longer, the change of real estate agent as well. Some agents really embraced the technology of virtual showings, virtual open houses. They changed quickly, they picked it up, and they became even more successful than they could have under normal circumstances.
Yes.
Some agents couldn't really level themselves to that new change. And I think in 2022, it will something else is going to happen. So what's your vision on the new agent of 2022?
Well, I think, I'm excited about the future because I love new things. And I think we always need to be embracing the new things. Doesn't mean we have to do every single one of them, but it means that we need to be aware of them. There's a tremendous amount of knowledge that we can retain on the surface. And I think that today there are so many different models. And you and I have talked about this before, but for some people, they would love to get into home ownership, but they just don't have a down payment and they don't have a situation to do that. There are now models and products out there so that they can actually sell the home and get it rented back, but it gives them a down payment that they can move forward with. And there's a number of different companies that do these types of things. There are other homes that really need to be renovated. And there are companies that will help with that, where the customer is not putting the money up front, but it's taken out at closing. Now, there are fees attached to those different situations, and you need to weigh that, and you need to disclose that and make sure they understand it. But if that fee allows them to get into the home of their dreams because they have needs with their family, growing family, or downsizing family, or whatever it is, if it allows them to lead a more fulfilling life, they may say, you know what, I'm going to pay that fee. Maybe I'm not going to go on my vacation because I just spent a little extra on this home transaction, but guess what? It's worth it to me because I'm now in the place I want to be. So I think that every agent needs to be completely aware and have surface knowledge of the different products that are out there. They don't need to be able to explain the whole thing, but you need to be able to say, well, you know, we'd love to purchase a home, but unfortunately we don't have the down payment. And an agent needs to be able to look at them and say, you know what, there are now products out there. Let me introduce you to someone and they can walk through what they could do for you. And then maybe we revisit and say whether you're going to be in the market now or you want to wait. Again, you don't need to know all the details of how the product works. You need to have working knowledge, and you need to make sure that you're referring them to somebody who has been vetted, that you feel comfortable having that referral going to. Because again, you don't want to just throw it out to anybody, because you need to, that's part of our job. We want to have surround ourselves with quality people that we can refer things to, just like whether it was a painter or anything else, or a mover, or all those things. But we need to have a good network of all those different service providers, whether it's for remodeling or a cash up front. There's so many different ones. And I think that's the thing that's exciting, because I think there's new opportunities for consumers that in the past would not have been in the market. And now through these new products, they can be.
So what you are saying, correct me if I'm wrong, that the education, well, that is part of the brand. You cannot be everything for everybody. Therefore, you have to surround yourself with the right
Correct.
People, right partners who you trust and who is able to explain and help your clients. So would you say that there is more education in 2022? How, again, just coming back to my agent of 2022,
Yeah.
what that agent is going to be?
Well, I think we have to be curious.
Okay.
You know what? So often we see things now on television, or we see them on a billboard, or we hear about it somewhere. It may pop up while we're looking at something else on the internet. Be curious. When it's about real estate, take a look at it. Find out what it is that they're offering, because guess what? Your customer is looking, and you can't let your customer be more educated than you are. So be curious about that things. It doesn't mean you need to embrace them all. And some of them, quite honestly, we don't want to embrace, because there's a lot of, everybody, when the market is hot, everybody wants to get into it, and they don't all necessarily have your consumer's best interest at heart. Typically, they have their pocketbook, and they're creating something that they think they're going to be successful making money at, sometimes at our expense. But your consumer is aware of it, and you need to be aware of it. And then talk to the rest of the people in your organization. Say, hey, are you familiar with this? Do we have anybody that could offer this? Because it sounds kind of interesting to me. And trust your gut. If it sounds a little interesting and you go, hey, I think that could help one of my customers, find out who you have and be able to make that referral. But we can't have our head in the sand. As much as I would love it to go back to the way it was, you know what? If they're going to be going direct to your customer, you need to remain as educated or more educated than your customer. And they are curious. Everybody loves to hear like these new great things that sound too good to be true. Sometimes they are, but you need to be confident and comfortable being able to say, hey, I'm aware of that. Let me explain to you how it works. And sometimes just saying there's additional fees attached, getting back to your instant offer. Instant offer was great. My question initially was, how many people actually have to sell their home instantly? I mean, there aren't that many people that really need to sell their home like in a week.
And also, Paul, just to add to what you are saying, that's what separates this excellent agent who can make the transaction so smooth, who has the strategy and marketing strategy, and have the plan A, B, and C. If the offer is absolutely fabulous, but it did fall apart right before closing, you have plan B, right?
Exactly. And I know a number of agents who they actually would capitalize on the fact when they talk to their customer and say, you know, if you're interested in selling your home instantly, let me tell you how that goes and what the fees would be. And then they said, well, what if we do it the regular way and the traditional way? And then they looked at that and said, wow, that actually is probably what we want, because we'd rather maximize the return on our sale, and it's not as critical that we sell it instantly.
Exactly, and you trust that agent who has the plan in place and actually executing it, and you as a client, as a seller, you are impressed how emotionally it can be pleasant in a way to deal with an agent who knows what he or she is doing. Kate, do we have any questions? Do we have any comments?
Yes, we have somebody who is asking about good leads and what agents should do if a brand is not delivering that to them.
Interesting.
Okay, so I would say there's a couple of things. And I know a number of agents who have paid for leads from a number of different sources. And I won't go through all of them, but they're all names you would know. And they frequently decided that they weren't necessarily getting as many quality leads as they wanted. What they did in turn, and this is somebody who actually became a very successful agent, but doing it themselves. They said, I picked an area where I said, you know what, these are people that I know. These are people that I think I can get involved with. And I'm going to really work that group, because I know once I start getting some business from them, I'm going to get more, because it's a referral business. And I'll tell you how grassroots it was. This is an agent in the Detroit area. And she actually started with her, I think it was her son's Rocket football. She became the person who had to collect everyone's birth certificates, because you have to have some data on all the kids that are playing. And so she called everybody up and she said, hey, I'm volunteering. I'm doing this. By the way, I'm also in real estate, if I could ever help you. But this gave her a reason to call people. They already knew that she was volunteering. Oh, there you are, Lisa. Congratulations. I'm just going to call you later today and say, guess what? I told your story, but I didn't know if I could tell. So I don't know if we can have Lisa talk about this, but she did. It was, I think it was Rocket football. And then she went on and she also got very involved in the state police. And she really focused her energy. So I think that you can create your own referral network. And Lisa did such an amazing job. She works exclusively, I think, well, I'm sure she'd take any business you want to throw her, but so much of her business is referral. The other thing that what drew me to her was a year ago, I saw how many listings she had, and everybody was saying there's such a shortage of listings, and yet here was somebody who had a lot of listings. And so I reached out to her one day and just said, hey, Lisa, I would love to find out what's your secret? And she told me, and she was great. Thanks, Lisa. I hope it's okay I told your story. Lisa Sobel at Real Estate One in the Detroit area.
Nice.
So what do you think going to take place in 2022 as far as market? I understand the inventory is still short, the inflation is up, the prices are still climbing, but I want to be positive.
Yeah, I am positive. You know what? I think that we'll see the market slow a little bit. But let's remember 2021, according to NAR, and I just looked at the numbers yesterday, it's going to be we're going to have more transactions than we've had. I don't know. I looked at least in their records, there's nothing on the books that has as many transactions. You know, going back 2006, 2007, it was never as active as it was. So we can afford to go down just a little bit. And we'll still, I think, be in good shape. We're still in a healthy market, in some ways a healthier market if it's not quite as frenetic. There are people that are overpaying for homes right now, which, you know, there's mixed emotions on that. They're overpaying because they're desperate. I think that if we look at the year and say, okay, I want to go back to some of the basics. I want to reach out to all of my customers and make sure, what are they thinking? I'm still hearing about people who have said, you know what? We never thought we would move because of the COVID thing. However, now, because our work remote policy has changed, or because our kids have now finished school and we have flexibility because of working remote, now they're thinking of still moving. I think that there has been that big shift in the work that will drive people to consider a different living situation, because they don't have a commute 5 days a week. And it could just be that they're not moving, you know, to another state, but they might say, you know what, we could get more for our money if we lived farther out. We never did because we didn't want the commute. But if I only do the commute twice a week, then I could probably do that. Or they want to move somewhere more remote because they love being outdoors and they want more outdoor, any of those things. I still think we're still going through a shift that was driven by COVID and working remote. And I think there's a lot of opportunity, but the thing to do is to reach out and talk to all of your past customers, continue to build that sphere that you already have, talk to them about their kids, talk to them about their parents. There's referral opportunities to help them and be their agent for life. I know that sounds a little cliche, but the reality is you want them to think of you every time they think about real estate, because the next time there's a birthday party, anniversary, block party, whatever it is, even a Zoom party, when one of their friends is talking about real estate, they're going to go, oh, we love our real estate agent. She just checked in with us. That is how referral business works. And so many of the successful people out there, they've built their business on their referral. But it doesn't just happen. You have to promote it. You have to stay in touch and continue. And I think Lisa also does a big party once a year. Sorry, Lisa, to bring you up, but now that I know you're there. And being able to stay in touch with your customers is important, because that's how it works. So I'm very optimistic for 2022. The people who are working hard are going to continue to get good business, but I think there will be other people who came into the business and are just waiting for the phone to ring. I don't think that business is going to be as active.
No, I totally agree with you. And it is like my daughter always tells me, we have to work smart, not hard. But I think in 2022, we have to work both smart and hard.
Yeah. I just saw a really quick question on bubble. And I will say my opinion on bubble, and some of our chief economist, Marcy Russell, I think that the bubble is very different. If we look at a bubble that burst before with real estate, a lot of it was because we had people that were purchasing real estate speculatively, and they weren't planning to live there, they were planning to flip it. And there was the flipping market dried up. There was nobody else that wanted to purchase. Today, people are purchasing real estate because they want to live in it, and they're living in it. So it's not like they're buying it with the expectation that somebody else is going to buy it, where that's what dried up and created the problem. They're living in it. Now, do I think prices will continue to go up? I think we will flatten out a little bit in the increases. Some markets have just gone up astronomically because there's such popular hot markets. So I don't know that I see homes going up more, but I don't think they're going to start coming down. I think some of the appreciation that we've gained is going to continue. I also think some of the depreciation we saw in some areas where they were already a little overheated, say in cities. I live downtown Chicago. I was surprised at what the prices were 3 years ago, because they were really going up. They've now come down a little bit, and in my opinion, I think they're more realistic. I don't think we'll see much change there. I think we've gotten prices adjusted to what people feel is true market value, because the market has been so active and the market spoke.
And Kate, I think you have one more question in Q&A, if you don't mind. No?
No, we're all squared away.
Well, great. Thank you. This was fun. Thank you for being in Chicago, and wonderful to see so many of you on the call today.
Thank you, guys. And then, our next guest is, Joe Rand. Joe was at our Lunch with Lucy last year, and he is back. So we are closing with Paul Boomsma, and leading real estate companies of the world. And we're opening with Joe Rand, and he's Chief Creative Officer for Howard Hanna Rand Realty.
Who happens to be one of our members. And I will just put in a plug. He's a tremendous speaker. I've heard him many times. And so you have a real treat. You're starting off the year with a really good one.
Thank you, everybody. And we will see you next year. January 19th.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.